What's up, everybody? This is Judith Echo. You're listening to Mad Love. Let's get into it. Sorry for the delays. I've had to wake up the last couple of days and take care of some business. And business before the pleasure of talking to you guys. Maybe once I get paid to do this podcast, or maybe people want to start sending in donations, I will feel more obligated to get to you all first. But some mornings I just have to handle things. And that brings me back to what I've been talking about probably for the last, 7 years. Um, I have a sibling who has some very, very challenging long-term health care issues. I mean, just sick. We so sick we don't even really know what's wrong with them. Okay, it's like infection after infection, just thing after thing. We're to the point now where he spends half the year in the hospital every year, probably since 2022. So it's been a problem, but it's always challenging because, excuse me, the way the system is set up, he's still free to make his own decisions. And, sometimes those decisions just don't make sense. And when a person isn't really grasping or realistic about their diagnosis, you get into this issue. Well, should someone become their guardian because clearly they aren't making clear decisions, and it's just complicated. And I'm telling you, no one's ready for any of these conversations. And if you were to go walk up to somebody that you probably know pretty well and just sit down and start asking them questions, you'll find out they've been dealing with somebody too, a sibling, an uncle, an aunt, a parent. And I've only heard one person say that their mom just listened to them and her sister because she just trusted their judgment when she got old. I've only heard one person say that. Everybody else is like, yeah, nah, they didn't want to do it. We had to have many talks about it. We had to say this, we had to say that. It's a very difficult time. And America is so off center. People are focused on all the wrong things. You hear these words and these buzzwords and shutdowns and all this theatrical stuff going on. But at the end of the day, they're really just trying to figure out how to file bankruptcy as a country, if you ask me. They really want to go to zero and start all over again because they have plundered everything to the nth degree, and they won't be able to make any more money off people if they don't find a new way to rob people, which sounds so cynical, but it's true. And so I think it's true to me anyway. So I think that you have to take care of yourself, take care of your family, look around, see what your situation is, and make provision for you and your loved ones because that's what they're doing. And there are people out here who are worth billions and trillions of dollars, and you'll never know their names. They live and operate in the shadows. They're wealthy beyond wealthy, and they get bored and they just decide that this is what's best for the world. I use Bill Gates for an example. What does he know about meat and nutrition for humans? Yeah, he wants us to eat all his little concoctions, but we don't know how that stuff is going to fare in our bodies over time. He's not a doctor and he's not a nutritionist. He doesn't care. He's just a guy with a whole lot of money. The computer was a great invention, although I'm not a Microsoft person. I'm an Apple person, and I'm waiting for somebody to come and take Apple's place because their products aren't as good as they used to be under Steve Jobs. But that's an aside. So listen, I don't care what Bill Gates thinks about our meat production or his little chemical coating on our fruit. He seems like a weirdo too. Ask him about his Jeffrey Epstein. You'll get some crazy, shady story. He was on that plane a lot. And you could tell he was a nerd. He didn't get none. Listen, that's what I'm saying. We're living through Revenge of the Nerds. Peter Thiel, look at him. Elon Musk, Bill Gates, uh, Bezos, they all look like little nerds. You can even go look at all the politicians and see which ones didn't get girls or boys or whatever they're into. You could just look at them and tell like these were social outcasts who happened to be really really bright, who went on ahead and made a whole bunch of money, and now we're living in their fever dream, you know? So you got to take all that into consideration and decide how best you're going to survive. Because when you go to get resources, you're going to be super surprised that all this talk about Medicaid and expanding it, they need to talk about it because it's so hard to get. And the restrictions, like, you're coming across a generation of people. So, like, our parents maybe only have a pension that's $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month, maybe. But you're starting to get to the group of people who went to school and got educated and started their own businesses. And, even in retirement, they're pulling in $6,000, $7,000 a month. Excuse me. They're pulling in 50 to 60 to $70,000 a year in retirement income. And all of that's great until you get sick. Because once someone gets sick, the cost of care becomes an issue and everybody becomes a have-not, because if you don't have millions of dollars to put towards your health care and you're laying in a bed sick, the trajectory for Alzheimer's is 15 years. It starts in your 30s, and unless you get diagnosed super early, the trajectory is 15 years. And both my parents followed that to a T, from diagnosis to death. And my mom, when I look back, there was something going on with her at 72. It really was. I thought she was just changing her, you know, finally getting tired or wearing down, but her personality was changing. And little by little, it just started to be problematic. And even though I noticed it the most during COVID, she was texting me weird stuff in 2017. I just found all these old texts from her. And it was just nervousness and anxiety and what are you doing? When are you coming home? And all this pressure to leave work to come hang out with her. Like that wasn't her personality at all. And it happens so subtly, you just keep dealing with it until finally, you're fighting in the middle of the night over Cheez-Its. Please put these Cheez-Its back in the, oh, nobody told you to come in here. Yeah, you told me to come in here. You have on every light in the unit and you're clanking on all the doors and you're dressed and it's 11 o'clock at night. I slept all night. No, you didn't. Like, that's a real thing. That happened for months, fighting with her about Cheez-Its. And then you all know the rest. Last year before she went down, uh, at that hospital where they trapped her, she was beating the shit out of us. I mean, she didn't recognize us and she was kicking our asses. So it's a journey. It's difficult, and a lot of people aren't ready. So sign up today for Beehive for my newsletter on Beehive. It comes out on Sunday. It's another banger of an issue. Um, it's the last one for September. I'm proud of the work that I'm doing there. We're a top 20 uh, newsletter on Beehive, and I am so excited about that, not just for me, but for this community, and to spread this message and get this out here so people can get prepared, because you feel much better when you have a plan. It's when you don't have a plan that is problematic. And some of us are already sick. Some people I know are very, very ill and they can't do all the things that I suggest doing. But this is a life's work. And the sooner you get started, the better it'll be for you. And if you can't do all the things I'm asking, that's fine. It's Refuel by Faith and Gasoline at beehive.com, beehiiv.com. It's an interesting spelling, but that's what they've done. Or reach out to me and I'll give you a subscription link. Just sign up, get prepared, get excited about your future, have a plan, and if you can't get out in nature and walk around and breathe some fresh air, go into your imagination and sit in a forest in your imagination. You still have your mind. If you have your mind, you have the world. And see yourself being there, relaxed and not worried and not stressed out, in love with your life, and knowing that God has a plan for you and a plan for me too, and that it's going to be okay. It works the way God wants it to work, and it doesn't matter what you do. It really doesn't. Like, I was so sick, I don't know, 2011, however many years ago that was, and it dawned on me like I could very easily die, but God did not want me to die, so I'm not dead. And when people ask me, why are you always so happy? When I would go to work, people were like, I couldn't even tell you were having all those issues at home with your mom. Why you were always smiling? Because I'm happy to be alive. And I'm not a victim. I wanted to take care of my mom. I knew she needed the help, and I knew someone had to come through for her. I could do it, and I did it. Did it kick my ass? Yes. Did she kick my ass? Yes. Am I tired at times? Still, 9, 10 months after her passing? Yes. But I'd do it all again. The only thing I would change is I would get rich first, because you need to throw money at it. You need help, and somebody should come in to help you much sooner than I got, because even if you move from just a companion to a medical person, just have somebody there keeping eyes, because you will thank me later. It's just way too hard to do by yourself, and part of that was I just didn't understand how sick she was. And it's like that time I fell down my sister's steps. I always thought, well, I'm skipping over the part in case you hadn't heard. When I was young, I was in college. I came home and I babysat my nephew. For perspective, this is a long time ago. Jeremy just turned 41, but I was babysitting him, and my sister came in, and in the time that she had left, and whatever I was babysitting for, the stairs iced up. So she had some black wrought iron steps at the back of her apartment, and she lived on the second floor. It was a good 40 steps, I would say. And so I was like, okay, that was fun. Good night. And I hit that top step, and I hit every step to the landing. But every time I was going down each step, I was like, oh, I'm about to stop. Oh, I'm about to stop. Oh, this will be the step I stop on. The whole time, and I'm just like, just down the steps like a Michael Douglas movie. Think back, Michael Douglas always had a funny scene in a movie where he was like, falling, or I'm thinking War of the Roses, where he's like, anyway, I'm thinking, I'm clearly about to stop. I never did. I went all the way to the landing, and then I looked to my left and my glasses fell into frame. And then my sister's like, Judy, are you okay? And I look up and I was like, yeah. And she was like, ah, in the night. Like I could hear her voice echo in the night. She was like, that was hilarious. Your glasses fell right next to you. And I was like, yeah, hilarious. But what was really funny to me about that is in my life, I always think I'm about to stop, or this is about to be over, or it's not that bad, or it's going to end right now. And it never does until it crashes at the bottom. So I was fine. I mean, I had a little backache for a while, but I was 20, you know? Ain't nothing like now. I'd still be down there if it was today. But, you know, I always think it's going to get better. And that Alzheimer's, it was nothing like that, man. Every time I thought, oh, we've plateaued, we hadn't hit a plateau, and it goes hard. And think about it. How scary would it be to wake up and not know anybody? These strangers who are smiling and grinning at you, and you have to talk at them a certain way, um, because they are so agitated. If you don't come in pleasant, then they mirror you. So one of my friends was like, you sound crazy. I couldn't even do it. I was like, yes, you could. Because if you go in mad, they get mad quick, and your day goes left fast. So I would just walk in, good morning. How are you today? And that was hard. I didn't want to do that. There were some days I was pissed. But I would go in, hey, what's up, girl? You looking good today. You just have to do it, because it's not worth the fight on the other end. And then sometimes she would wake up really, really sweet. And towards the end, like certainly by this time last year, she was starting to make her descent. If that makes sense. She was declining, and um, she was more lucid than she'd been in a long time. She had started to remember us and have stories. Because when I got back from my birthday trip, she looked at me and she was like, "Where you been?" It's like, "Oh, you noticed I wasn't here for 3 days." Okay. So, yeah, it's been a journey. Just like I said, I wasn't prepared. I kept thinking we were hitting plateaus, and we never were hitting a plateau. She hit every step, and I hit him with her because it was rough. We had some dark days in here. It was like an after school special. Sometimes I would say bye to the caregiver, like, "I'll see you Monday if I make it." And she might kick my ass. Not might. She might kick my ass, and, I might, who knows what's going to happen because it's really hard to not retaliate. And I'm not always proud of my reaction. Never meant to yell back at her, but sometimes it's just your reaction. And I'm not a perfect person. She's trying to hit me in the head with a lamp, and I'm trying to, get her cleaned up. That's problematic. And I am obviously an incredibly patient person. I shudder in fear how some people will react, when their grandmother or mother or father or uncle or brother is diagnosed with this disease and they're not patient. So we got to be on the lookout for each other. And I love the community that we're building. I give great feedback on the newsletter, and I am pouring heart and soul into it. I'm keeping it free on purpose. But you're not going to find a lot of resources that are free with this much value. You just won't. And I know people think, well, if it's free, it can't be that great. Well, I'm giving you the best that I got, which is a great song, by the way, Anita Baker. But yeah, it's a lot, and people need to get ready and get prepared. And I am trying to do that with all the love in my heart because I was not prepared, and I got my ass kicked literally and spiritually, and probably emotionally because it was really, really hard. And to the point where I'm just now processing how shitty it was. But I love my mom. That was my girl, and I'd do it all again. And if I can help you and your family, or you and your friendship circle, or you and your people, I will do it because it's important. We got to build community. That's the only way we survive all of this nonsense. Stay safe, stay prayed up, be your best. I'll meet you back here next week. Love you so much. Thank you for listening.